Hi, I'm Vicky from Bright Babies and I'm here to talk a little bit about tummy time. So tummy time is something that most parents understand is important. They know it's something they should be doing with their babies. Their babies don't necessarily like it, and so maybe they're not doing it as regularly as they should. But I'm sure that if more parents understood why tummy time is important, they feel empowered and they feel motivated to make sure their babies are getting that regular tummy time, and your babies will so benefit from it. So tummy time is what it is. It's when our babies have that opportunity to be on their front, to start working against gravity, to feel how it feels to start lifting those heads up, how to start getting that strength in their necks, in the back of their heads, and then their shoulders, all those little muscles running down the spine. And those that development is so important. It is the start of our baby meeting all those other milestones. So when our babies are on their tummies, they're starting to think about getting those hands flat. So our baby's hands are all curled up when they're small. When they're on the front, they're getting that opportunity to start thinking about opening up those hands. And that's really important, about thinking about putting a bit of pressure through those hands, helping develop systems in their body, such as their proprioception, understanding like where they are in space, how their body relates to the world around them. And also when they're starting to push up, they're getting that strength in their shoulders, and they're getting that strength in their back. And all of that is going to lead to the next milestones, things like starting to think about rolling over, starting to think about getting that strength they're going to need for sitting, that's the strength they're going to need for walking. And it all starts with that tummy time. It also helps develop other systems in their bodies. It's fantastic for helping open up those lungs, get our babies deeply breathing. Fantastic fact, really good for our baby's digestive system. They're getting that little bit of pressure on their tummies. Wonderful for our colicky babies. Also, it's helping them to develop their core. So our core is so important to developing all of our other motor skills. So basically, until we've got this development of our bigger motor skills, being able to push up, getting that strength in our core, we won't be able to use our fine motor skills, so picking up things. And actually doing tummy time with your baby while they're young gives them that strength that when they get to school age, they're able to sit up in a chair and they're able to use their hands to write. It's all linked. It's amazing. It's also helping with their spine development. So when our babies are born, they have a curved spine where they've been all tucked up, all lovely inside the womb. But there is like a small window where our babies start to develop that S-shaped spine that we have as adults. And that's really important in the way that we're able to move our bodies. It's like a shock absorber as we walk along. So really important when our babies get to walking. So it's great to give them the opportunity to develop that spine from really young. All of these things are so important. Also, it helps stop our babies getting things like flat head. So flat head is when our babies have spent a lot of time on one area, and babies' heads are really malleable when they're born. They've got these soft spots which allow them to descend and be born out of the birth canal. But it isn't until they're one to those heads are actually fused. So spending a lot of time lying on their backs isn't great. You can get these like flat spots. So allowing our babies time off the back of their head, really, really important. Also, when our babies are on their front, they're getting that opportunity to get that strength to start to think about things like crawling. And crawling is something that is really, really important. We want our babies to crawl because when our babies are crawling, they are actually using that left and right hand side of their bodies, which is creating these pathways, neural pathways across their brains and connecting all these little brain cells all together. And these pathways are like the key to like future learning. So the earlier they crawl, if they crawl, that's fantastic. They're getting those connections really young at a time when their brains are growing. Don't panic if you're watching this and your baby has skipped crawling. You can always go back to it. So I make it part of my bigger class movers that we use things like tunnels, we use things like tents, we use things like getting babies, toddlers to go through mummy's legs and getting them back to crawling. You can always go back, but we really do want to encourage crawling. That's really important. So yeah, like it's fantastic. trying to keep this quite succinct. I could go on and on, but it is wonderful. What I would say is I'll have so many parents come to me and say their babies just don't like it. When we put our babies down, especially when they're really new babies, those heads are big, they're heavy, they don't have that strength if they haven't had like the opportunity to get that strength. So lifting their heads is uncomfortable, those noses get snubbed into the floor, they might feel claustrophobic, and often our babies are down here, we sit behind them, so they can't even see us. I would say really be baby led. Don't let that make you feel like you can't do tummy time, that it's going to upset baby and you don't want to upset them. Of course you don't, you love them. Just do little and often. If it's 30 seconds to begin with, wonderful. Build it up, you know, maybe it's 30 seconds today, but maybe in a few days time it will be a minute, and maybe next week it will be 5 minutes, you know, because your baby is gaining that strength, they're gaining that confidence. Also, it's really important that we respond to those cues so that they have that confidence that if it is getting too much for them, and of course it is going to be a little bit of a workout when our babies are new, that they get picked up. Other things, if you've got a really new baby, having baby on you, maybe just leaning back with baby on your chest, giving them that chance to work about its gravity, that is fantastic. Lying down on the bed, having them on your chest, they can feel your heartbeat, they can feel your warmth. And as your babies get a bit bigger, maybe you get in front of them, maybe you get down with them, you're talking to them, they can see your face, you are everything to your baby. So make it a time for bonding. It's a lovely opportunity for bonding. You can tell them how well they're doing. And as they're sort of getting a little bit bigger, you can introduce like black and white pictures, you can introduce instruments, you can introduce whatever it is that your baby might find interesting. And they'll go from being down, just those heads coming up, to starting to push up, get all the way up, get the hands out, grabbing things. And once they're at that point where they can, they're on their tummies and they're reaching out, it really is a position for the play. At that point, I'd be putting my baby on their tummy really regularly. And all of that is just absolutely fantastic for our babies. So I could go on and on. I'm going to keep it quite succinct, but if you're interested in knowing more about tummy time or ways you can play with your baby in the tummy time position, it's a big part of what I do at Bright Baby. So my Giggles class is for my littlest babies. That's from 8 weeks up until sitting. Every week, as long with massage, yoga, development play, I always do tummy time, and I change it each week. I give baby mums and dads different positions they can put babies in, different ways to keep it interesting. And they have that chance to do tummy time in class, but hopefully inspiring the mums and dads to go home and do that with them. Also, with my next class up, my Wiggles class, that's from sitting up until walking. And there's quite a few babies in there that aren't yet crawling. So I have an exploratory play time. My crawlers can come in and explore as they want. And at that time, I always say to the non-crawlers, get them on their tummies. It's an exciting part of the class. They are engaged. So if you're local to my area and you want to come along and have a bit of tummy time with me every week, then you can come along to Bright Babies. But also if you're not near me or you're just not coming along to class, but you've heard this, little and often, build it up, get those babies every time they're awake and they're happy and alert, give them a chance to go on their tummies, and they'll get all those lovely, lovely benefits. So yeah, I hope that helped. Bye from me.